What can you guys say about an EDC rut? I've come to a stage where I am already satisfied with my stuff.
Are you really? Just kidding.
No. So what I would say is congratulations. Is
Yeah.
that not the goal, to find satisfaction in your EDC stuff?
This is a New Yorker's carry, I think. It speaks very New York to me.
I mean, it's in a big city. So this is from Matthias, an industrial designer based in London.
There you go.
What's your everydaycarry.com origin story? How did you discover everydaycarry.com? And how and when did you start working in the company? So I don't know if this is actually directed towards Mikey or not, because I mention at the top of the show every time that I'm the founder of everydaycarry.com. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Carry the Way, the weekly podcast where we nerd out about all things EDC gear and maybe try to teach you a thing or two while we're at it. I'm Bernard, the founder of everydaycarry.com, and I'm joined by our editor, Mikey.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you. So if you're new to the show, welcome. Here we talk about the latest in EDC gear, answer questions from the community, and review pocket dump submissions from our viewers. If you've listened before, we just want to say thanks so much for the support, and also a reminder to give a thumbs up to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps the channel. So we're almost at 1,000 followers, and when we get there, we'll start giving away some gear more regularly, including stuff from our parent company and the sponsor of today's video, Ridge. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but first we start with a pocket check. Mikey, what do you got for us this week?
Hey, this time I am wearing a new watch. Well, kind of new. A few weeks ago, by the time of this recording, we had posted a new watch from Redwood Watches. They're a micro brand out of Canada, and they had previously sent this a few years ago. This is their Tactical V2 diver. And I don't know, I'm kind of getting the itch to wear divers again, but I don't want to pull my monsters out of the box. I don't want to scratch the bracelet for now. So I decided to pull this out. I'm kind of on a quartz binge at the moment because I kind of like the accuracy of it. And this is kind of neat. It's an Epson solar movement. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty. So yeah, just wanted to, I suddenly got the itch to wear a dive watch again. So I just pulled this out of the box. And I just remembered it because they have a new dive watch out. And yeah, we featured it on the site. And speaking of featured on the site, the other thing we have in hand is this is the Loop SK05.
Oh man.
So
the Pro or the not Pro?
We both have the Pro, I believe. This is the titanium.
Well,
the
I have
one.
both. I know it's not a contest, so I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I got both.
So this is really cool. You know me, I love my rotary dials. It comes with a dual spotlight and a triple Nichia 519A, which is awesome.
So I didn't get the Nichia version, but I'll share that.
It should be
later.
The titanium one should be, but anyway, it should be the same for the both of us. This one, but anyway, the thing I like the most about this, in addition to the rotary dial, is it has this cool LED effect on the
battery
side.
Indicator on the side.
Yeah, it's a battery indicator, and it's also you can also do different effects with it. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do with it. So I like that. I also like there's a physical lockout, always handy. And yeah, I've been carrying this one. It's a nice size. It's kind of like exactly hand size.
Yeah, 2x18 650.
Yeah, in this era of of rectangular flashlights, and it's really neat that it's 2x18 650. Yeah, exactly. It's using standard batteries, pretty cool. And finally the battery latch has a kind of the reload system on it. So it's kind of popping true to loop form. It's got some fidget ability to it. So yeah, those are the two things. Old/new watch and new/cool flashlight.
Okay, well, stole my thunder a little bit.
Sorry.
So I'm kind of the same thing. I'll start by also saying I'm carrying the SK05 Pro. A funny story about this. I hope people will tolerate this story, but I went to a coffee shop over the weekend, Stereoscope Coffee. Did a screw just come out of my... Actually, I just lost a screw on this SK01. Happened live. I don't know where it comes from, though.
We'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
I think there's a couple of T3s on the bottom. There's what looks like a T6 on the top.
I wonder if it's like the placeholder for the, what's it called? The clip that doesn't exist on this yet. So
I know.
You're still working on the clip. Yeah, and they're going to send it to us. So maybe it was just in there. But anyway, I went to a coffee shop, Stereoscope Coffee in LA, and then should I not have said that? Anyway, the barista there recognized me from Everyday Carry, and he asked me like what my EDC was. So I got pocket checked, and that hasn't happened in person in a
Wow.
long time.
Public
Like,
pocket check.
yeah, so I got pocket checked. Luckily, I had cool stuff on me. It would have been funny if like recognized me for EDC, and I was just like, "Oh, I was just grabbing coffee. I didn't like load up for the day." But the
Just
Loop Gear,
AirPods, that's it.
yeah, no, the Loop. I had no way to pay for my coffee or anything. But the Loop Gear SK05 Pro was on me, so I showed that off a little bit, and yeah, so this was in my pocket. I've been testing it now that it's getting darker earlier. So we're gonna, by the time this episode comes out, we would have rolled back, I think, or fallen back. So
From
get an
daylight
hour of sleep,
savings.
everyone. Hopefully everyone listening is well rested, at least in the States. So yeah, the days will get shorter and the nights will get longer and darker. So I've been also testing this one out. I don't have the high CRI version. This is the like max output version. The cool white's just like higher lumens. I'm pretty sure that's what the box says. Um,
Or maybe you mixed up the box between the regular one and the titanium one.
no, both of mine. I have both of them, and they both have. Oh, actually, no, they both say high performance version.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah,
see. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So I have two of them.
Interesting to
But anyway,
see.
yeah, I really like the the side light thing too. That's just a really cool.
It's so Tronish, right?
I know it's really cool, but I haven't really used the side light in
I
practice
think,
yet, especially all
uh,
the RGB stuff.
yeah, actually, the most useful thing here is if you swap out to the other functions. Oops, sorry. I don't know.
Oh,
There's a function here where you can. Um, oh, sorry, it's double click. There you go. So you can change the functionality of the side light. So there's a
right.
police kind
There's
thing.
like different patterns, different colors,
Yeah. And then
animations.
the most useful one is this warm white light.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
probably the
That's
most
what I would
useful.
probably leave it at. But I do
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
to learn the. There is a learning curve to the rotary side switch with like
Yeah.
4 modes and like 3 different emitters, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot to learn there. And then what else do I got? I also have a new watch. I was gonna share my knife, but today it's just the one and only, just because it's like black
Mm.
and copper, like orange. It's Halloween right now, so
Oh, matching everything in your
just yeah,
background and
just on
everything.
theme a little bit, yeah. But I also got a new watch, and I might do a video on this. This is actually the Hamilton Cross Engineered Garments limited edition.
Mm.
So it's the Hamilton khaki auto in titanium, 36 millimeters, collab with a Japanese fashion brand. So this
It-
is something I probably shouldn't have bought, but it was a limited edition to 1999 pieces, and it kind of checks all the boxes for me.
Number one, it sounds like exactly a Bernard watch, 36
Uh-huh.
millimeter, nice,
Yeah.
clean dial. But if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, Hamilton Field Watch is Hamilton Khaki is like the original field watch, isn't it? Or it's the one that made
Uh,
it popular.
it's like one of the most beloved and most common. I don't know the
That and the
exact
SKX.
history of it. Yeah, I don't know the exact history of it, but I'm pretty sure there were like a dozen different watch brands that were allowed to manufacture standard issue watches for
Oh,
the US government. So, and I think collectively they were known as the Dirty Dozen. Um,
oh, that's
and
cool.
there's like
Oh,
this whole, yeah, there's like this
that
whole
sounds
branch
like
of
the
like
topic of
lore
your
and
video.
history. But anyway, this one is really cool, and just a couple of reasons why I really like it. So it's full titanium and 36
Great,
millimeter. So that doesn't
great.
exist in Hamilton's current lineup. They're only, I think, 38 and 40 plus, some, yeah, so size wise. So this is the smallest in full titanium. And then it also removes the 24-hour military track, which I think adds a lot of clutter to a dial. And
Mm.
that's, I typically like simple three-handers with a very clean dial. This one also doesn't
Is it
have
a
the red
date?
second hand. No, and no date window. So
Okay.
it's just simple three-hander, super legible. And you guys can't see it, but the dial has a sunburst in the center of the dial, and then the minute track and seconds track is like concentric circle, almost like guilloche, kind of like that ridged texture to it. So it has really cool textural contrast and attention to detail, but from far away it just looks like a highly legible black faced field watch.
Very
So
very Rolex. Is it Datejust or Explorer?
it's actually like I wanted the Explorer, but this is actually quite different in many ways. So maybe there's room for the Explorer eventually, but right now I'm just not interested in playing the whole Rolex game.
mm.
So this Hamilton at a fraction of the price with so much value, I think is
Plus
a
it ticks
really
so
compelling
many.
option. Yeah, for
It ticks
EDC.
so many if you know boxes as well, and
Stop it, Mikey. Why
you
you
got
keep
called out.
you
You
keep
got
putting
called
me in the
out.
if you know box,
Hey,
dude?
even Mike, our
Yeah.
friend, called you out on it. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. I still don't think I identify. I like it's not the intention to be if you know you know. It
No,
just
no,
so
no.
happens
Not
to be that
yeah, yeah.
okay.
It's not an intentional. Oh, I'm trying to be a cool secret thing. It's more
Yeah.
of we see what's out there and we're dialing into that one specific thing
Okay.
that ticks some boxes.
Okay,
I
thank you.
think that's it's more unique than intentionally flexing or anything, right?
Right.
Right. It's
Yeah.
finding the little gems that other
Yeah,
people
that
might not
resonated
have
with
seen.
me,
There
right?
you go.
So like,
Exactly.
yeah, the
Perfect.
Rolex,
Yeah.
like anyone could buy a Rolex and like they could feel like, yeah, I like the Rolex.
Exactly.
But this, like,
Exactly.
I just went on for a few minutes yapping about why I liked it, and I think that level of like
Yes.
enthusiasm, hopefully you have that when you get purchases for your EDC or just anything you buy. But
Yes.
maybe we're a different breed for better or worse. Um,
Probably
so
worse.
yeah, we'll jump into what else is coming out next in the news cycle. But first, let's do our ad read. So this episode is sponsored by Ridge, our parent company. Ridge is best known for their premium minimalist metal EDC wallets with RFID blocking technology and a lifetime warranty. But they make all sorts of EDC gear these days, like EDC knives, key organizers, wedding bands, machine pens, backpacks, and hard shell luggage too. I use their products every day, and so do a ton of other people with over 50,000 5-star reviews. They make gear in quality materials like carbon fiber and titanium in a bunch of new matching colors and designs. But if metal wallets aren't your thing, they just launched a collection of soft leather wallets too, like the Ridge Biflex. You can try them out with a 99-day risk-free trial to see if you like them. So upgrade your EDC with Ridge at ridge.com/carrytheway for 10% off your order. It supports the show, and thanks again to Ridge for keeping the lights on here. Cool. So let's jump into the news segment. And Mikey,
I'm really
I'll let
excited
you,
about this match.
yeah, tee us up here. So
Yeah.
what do we got?
So the first one is people may be familiar with the Vision FG from Civivi.
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
one of their first implementations, if not the first, of the super lock. And that super lock is an ambidextrous spine lock. I don't know. It's part of the handle. It's right on the spine of the handle. And then it's a pulling and a pull up motion to do the spine lock. So that was
Yeah.
part of the Vision FG. And that was created by a knife designer called Snex Tan out of Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And his superlative collaboration now with We Knives is coming out, and it's called the Tyro, and that's what we're looking at right now. And I think this is the end game We Knife for me. It ticks
Really?
so many boxes for me. The least of which is it's titanium. It's got a cool fully ambidextrous lock. It's got a cool steel on it. It looks nice. It's not perfectly 3.15, but it's sub 3 inch, so it's a little bit on the more
True.
compact side. And it comes in a number of varieties. So I'm trying to get our hands on this, but I'm really excited about this specifically because it's a fully ambidextrous super lock, and it's really cool on the Vision FG. We both use the Vision FG, so
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, this is
Yeah.
the one I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for this for months, so hopefully we can get our hands on this. And I just like the design of it. The blacked out
Dude,
one is pretty cool, also.
yeah, dude. I would love to handle this in person. I think it checks a lot of boxes for me too.
Hmm.
Like the smaller blade shape, ambidextrous usage. I know that we fit and finish is good. The action is good. I'm really
Yep.
interested to see. So I believe this is what grade 5 titanium handles, right? I would
Hmm.
expect no less. Yep.
Yep.
So grade 5, but then it's also like pocketed out here geometrically. I just love stuff like that.
And even
And
the thumb hole is the
yeah, the thumb
same
hole is
geom.
interesting. Yeah. So there's like that motif resonates throughout. So really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
looks like the clip is reversible as well, but I couldn't be sure from the renders. It looks it should. I mean,
I think
it's an
so. I think it's that
ambidextrous.
same hole,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah, on that
hopefully,
side.
yeah, hopefully we can get our hands on it. But even if we can't, this is something I am gonna buy for myself because it just ticks everything. It's the end game stuff from Wii. It's the super ambidextrous thing. Like a lot of Wii knives don't really come ambidextrous. That's why the Vision FG even for me was a standout. So excited to
Mhm.
see how they implement this one in particular. And they have been teasing this for months, and even back when they had the prototypes and I saw what it looked like, I was really excited about it. So yeah, so this is the really excited for this to come out.
Yeah, I was just looking at the title of this and it says with an extra pivot screw. Can't
Yeah.
beat that value there. I was just like, what is this floating pivot screw doing? But it's just an extra.
Random
Yeah,
screw
pretty funny.
render.
Yeah, so this
If you
one
look,
is
if you
pretty
search for
cool.
Tyro, I think you can see the other variations. There's an expensive $700 Damascus version, I believe.
Oh man. Well, this one was already
Uh-oh.
expensive at $270. Oh, wait a second. This I love when they do this where it's like it's a black finish, but the edges are like
Yes,
gold. They're just a
exactly.
contrast finish. I've
Ex-
seen that on I
the
think I
black
have a
one. The
can
black one is like that also.
oh okay. I have a concept, I think a Fenrir that's like that. I think. Some and I think also another Wii knife that did that too, but um yeah, that's just a really cool detail.
Mm,
But it's not really functional as far as I can tell. But it kind of
mhm.
reminds me of like, um, imagine. Well, not everybody will understand this, but like a Leica camera or something. If it's like black, but then like the body is brass, and over time as it patinas, like the gold peeks through on
Like
the edges
the
for
edges,
like the high
exactly. Yeah,
friction. Yeah. So
that subtle patina, but still kind of baked
yeah,
into the design
I'm
because
not
it's the
beating
high
the if
wear.
you know
No,
allegations. By
no.
the way, with a
I
a
actually thought you
reference
were
like
gonna
that.
go for a Kintsugi type thing because that
Uh,
black and gold aesthetic is kind of,
yeah.
yeah. But I really
So
like the prototype didn't even have the I believe the bronzing on the inside of the
mhm.
chamfered edges. So the final product had it. It's really cool. Yeah, the all black one.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see. Oh, yeah,
that's
even at the $270
that's it.
price one. That's
That's
cool.
absolute end game Wii for me at
Yeah,
the moment.
this one
I
looks very Mikey.
exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
I can't think of a better at the moment other than the one I have now that's my really favorite, the DPX. This is like all of the boxes are ticked for this one. So
Hmm.
really excited about this one.
Is this the first time? Do you know that Wii offers the Super Lock?
Under
Is that the
Wii, I
whole point?
believe so. I believe so.
Yeah,
Under Wii, yeah. Under the
yeah,
Wii manufacturing type, yeah,
yeah.
and the
And then like
materials.
you said, it was on the CBV, so like their lower price point sister company,
Sorry,
right?
the we made a version of the Vision themselves. So it
Oh, okay,
started with a
okay,
CVV and then they made a Wii one, and this is going to be
okay.
the newest one, I believe. Yeah,
Very cool. And the CVV Vision, or just the Vision FG in general, is like very well regarded.
yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah.
It's excellent. And I believe Snextan isn't making a custom version of this, unlike the other models. This is going to be strictly a Wii model, so it's not gonna,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So there's not, yeah. So this is the one to get if you're looking for something fancy.
Cool. So now a little bit of a spoiler. We're today for the news cycle. We're kind of doing a value sandwich where you start with the $270 slash
Making sure this time.
$700. Yep. Yep. And then next we got the $32 Wurkkos.
Yeah.
And it's even cheaper during a holiday Halloween sale apparently at 25% off. So it's $24. This is the TS10 Max, the Nichia 519A.
Hmm. So if you are kind of neck deep in the flashlight hobby, Wurkkos might be thrown around because their base TS10 is one of the best value lights you can get at the moment. It's very, very inexpensive, and its main draw is it uses standard batteries and it uses Anduril. And Wurkkos reached out to us for a different light. They have a new UV light that's also kind of rectangular that's coming out. But I saw
Mm-hmm.
this in their new lineup products as well, and this is going to be the first evolution of the base TS10, which I'm really, which is generally a very well regarded
Mm-hmm.
recommendation. And I had them send this your way because I
Oh,
want to see
thank
you.
you.
I
Yeah.
want to see you how you do with Anduril in
And drill, yeah.
2024. And I want to see if I'm just being a curmudgeon about it, if I'm just being a simpleton about flashlight, what do you call this, mechanisms or systems or user
Yeah. This is the
interfaces.
UI, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
for people who don't know, by the
yeah,
way, Anduril UI, just to level set, context set here a little bit. Anduril is kind of, is it open source? It's just like a commonly
yes,
used user interface for flashlight electronics, so that when you operate the switch, there's like a certain way to access different modes and like memory and programming and stuff like that.
mhm,
If you didn't even realize that flashlights could have memory, like or anything like that, this might not be the operating, or not the operating system, the UI for you.
kinda, yeah,
Just because it has so much um, capability and functionality built into it, but it's more than a simple on off or select the brightness. I
that's
can't
right.
even name off the top of my head like what it can do, but it is pretty complex, and I think it's aimed towards the power user enthusiast who
Yes.
wants like ultimate control but is willing to overcome that learning curve.
And not just that, it's also ideally made for flashlights with a single button. So
Yes,
it's
yeah.
attempting to do so many things with just a series of clicks and holds and everything. And it comes with, at the very base level, at the very easiest muggle mode as they call it, or the base
Oh,
out of the
really?
box mode,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a simple ramping interface where if you press and hold it, it becomes brighter, press and hold it again, it becomes the light becomes dimmer. But through a series of, arcane presses and summoning
Yeah.
rituals, you can have stuff like a party mode. You can have aux lights where a secondary LED is on while the main LED is off. You can have a
Uh huh.
storm candle mode. You can have, yeah, a storm mode, a candle mode, different types of battery checks. You can have different programming levels for each level of, or how many levels, all of a single button. So that's really, if you're a programmer at heart, or if you're like the ultimate in customizations and mods and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at the fraction of a price of most flashlights, this is what, $25, $24, and
Yeah.
you have the latest and greatest LED, and it's affordable. Yeah, so it's an incredible value proposition if that's your thing. So I want to see you get your hands on it and play with it and see if it's really as intimidating as I've been building it up over the past
Dude,
5 or so years, or
Dude, I'm
if I'm
just
just full of
looking
it.
at the mode chart, and like it goes from A1 to H8. Like what? Like that's so many modes. I'm used to just like moonlight, low, medium, high, max. I mean, I guess it's a similar amount. But yeah, this probably doesn't have like the secret menu of modes that Mikey's talking about
Yeah,
just
if you
listed here.
Google Anduril chart or some
Mhm.
similar, you're gonna see just how deep it
Yeah,
goes.
we can have our editor just like put that graphic over
Just
here,
have it
just to
zoom
see
into
how
each
complex it can
section.
get. Yeah, but so you mentioned that this has the like a couple things that stood out. You mentioned that this has the latest and greatest LED, and then
Mhm.
also you mentioned that there's like auxiliary
I
lights and
believe
stuff in
so.
here.
I
Yeah,
believe so.
so
Yeah.
it's hard to tell, but I believe that this has a what central high CRI LED, and then surrounded by it are RGB LEDs.
Or it's an array of six. Three. It's a
Oh,
triple
it's
of the
okay.
Nichia 519A, and then around it are smaller colored
Oh,
LEDs
that makes
for the
sense.
aux
Yeah,
stuff.
that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
I
Uh,
believe so. I'm not
yeah.
exactly sure. I don't have a TS10 myself yet, but I
So
believe
for
that's how it works.
people who aren't flashlight nerds, if they're hearing that, okay, this has total internal reflection optics, it has a triple array of niche, like what does all of this mean in practical use? Who is this best served for? I think that might
Um,
be helpful to the
Yeah,
audience.
it's great for EDC because the combination of that lens, which is the glass or plastic part towards the head, and the
Hmm.
combination of a triple array of LEDs gives you a nice, complete, floody,
Yeah,
full
wide,
beam,
even beam. Yeah.
even with no hotspot, and it's just a nice wall of light in front of you. So
Hmm.
it's ideal for up close work. It wouldn't blind you. It would you wouldn't use it for like a tactical or a spotting situation where you need to identify a
Go
target at
down
distance.
range really far. Yeah.
But if you need to light up a room, if you need to light up a desk, if you need to walk the dog or something,
Yeah, just
perfect.
the
It's
lawn
us. Yeah.
something. Yeah, just scan a wide area. And another thing to mention that this LED, so the max output is what? Do you remember?
I I believe it's ridiculous. I forgot what it was.
Oh, here,
Um,
okay, 2,500 lumens.
yeah,
Um,
that's a
but
lot.
yeah, but it is also a high CRI flashlight, meaning color rendering index, so that the colors basically that you see under this light are more lifelike, kind of closer to what it might look like under the sun.
Yep,
And that is more useful, especially when you're in the outdoors and you kind of need to tell the difference in color and stuff versus just most flashlights that are cool white. They're brighter that way, but everything kind of gets washed out, kind of looks the same. So if
greenish
you're
or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're outdoors and you kind of need to tell the difference between, I don't know, like plants versus potential like scary not plant thing, then you can kind of
Yeah.
tell that a little bit better.
Or
So
if you're
and
working in the
anyway,
dark with wires or something,
oh yeah,
or
yeah.
arranging stuff in the in low light. Yeah.
Yeah, or even like creative stuff like photography. I've used it for that too.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, this is really cool. $24, a fraction of the price of the knife that we just saw, right? So
Yeah.
there's plenty of a good gear out there too that's doesn't break the
Yeah.
bank. So thanks, Mikey, for putting this on our radars,
Hmm.
and we can jump into the last one. So
Yeah.
the expensive piece of bread in this value sandwich. This
Yeah.
is the Able Carry Max EDC
Mm.
26-liter backpack.
So I only found out about this maybe a month ago. We had actually reviewed the original Able Carry Max. So I forgot where they're based out of. I'm not sure if it's Hong Kong or where their origin is. But
Hmm.
originally they were one of the few brands a few years ago offering X-Pack as a mainline.
They were one
Uh,
of the first to like make their flagship X Pack. I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then and kept that in standard rotation. It wasn't like a
yeah.
special edition or anything. And then a few years ago we covered the Able Carry Max, which was their 30-liter full travel bag. So I
Mm.
believe this came out this year. This is a Max EDC. This is 26 liters, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And
26.
everything I've heard about it is they're saying it's a great weekender kind of bag while also small enough to be an EDC bag versus the original Max Max
Hmm.
backpack, which is kind of too big. That one was a nice one bag, and this one is the exact everyday little brother that could also be crossed over into the weekend. It's like a triple compartment. There's a front compartment. There's a main clamshell one, and then there's a laptop compartment. I really like that kind of configuration,
Yeah,
and it's got all of the bells and whistles, and of course, it comes in X-Pack, a bunch of variations of X-Pack. So people seem to be really excited about this bag, and I kind of do want to try it out because I've been curious about Able Carry for quite a long time, and yeah, this is their latest and greatest, and apparently it blows everything else they have out of the
yeah.
water. So yeah,
I
pricey though. Yeah,
yeah,
admittedly
yeah,
pricey though.
pretty pricey to 80. I like though their design language, especially the exterior. Like
Mm,
if you make a bag similar to this, it's pretty easy to just sort of look like all the other bags. But I really like this kind of angular slash plus the use of X Pack that they've kind of been doing for a while. It
mm,
adds angularity to admittedly a larger bag, and I just like angular stuff in different
yep,
designs. So I think this one's pretty cool.
yep.
What do you think about 26 liters as an EDC? So I understand that this is positioned as like their max bag, which was their one bag travel size bag over 30
Mhm.
liters. But then the EDC version of it, it's still 26 liters.
Yeah, it
So I don't
is.
know where you fall as like what your preferred liter backpack size is for EDC, but I think mine is closer to like 18 to 20, that range for just
Originally,
day pack EDC.
yeah, originally my ideal setup was a 22-liter max and a carry-on luggage. That's like
Yeah.
my perfect travel combo. But recently, since I have been forced to carry my CPAP machine around, suddenly it's
Mm,
taking up my entire main compartment space, and all of a sudden I've had to rejig everything because nothing fits anywhere anymore because
yeah.
it's like 20 liters is taken up just by the whole CPAP machine and its bag. So I am quite interested in a 26 liter because now I get to have a bit more space, and I have the original space I had when it was just 22 liters and without the machine. So I think I can be okay with 26. 30 is pushing it. 30, 28,
Hmm.
30. That is definitely kind of out of the range already, but 26 might be the sweet spot for my current
For
needs
you
right now.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, for my current needs now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think based on the photos as well, 26 doesn't look too much on the on people. So I've heard that it can look flatter when it's not fully packed out.
Loaded,
So
yeah.
it might not look as, turtle shelly as a 26-liter usually might.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any backpacks that size or bigger?
I don't think so. My collection is pretty small, or sorry,
Pretty
not my
compact,
collection is
right?
small. I have quite a big collection of backpacks, unfortunately. But the packs that I gravitate towards are around probably 24 liters max. I don't even know if that's a
Mm,
standard size, so probably smaller than that.
yeah.
I also like bags that are even smaller than 20, so like
Yeah.
16 to 18, where
I'm
and
also
it
looking
sits
for,
really
yeah,
high
around that
on my
range.
back. It's just like really compact. Because yeah, and then if I do travel, then I'm like you, I'm gonna do just a regular EDC size day pack plus a
The tote.
check-in, or not a check-in, a carry-on,
Yeah, yeah,
so some kind of partial luggage to go with it. So
yeah.
yep. Cool. I think that wraps it up for just the news cycle. If you guys want to see more EDC gear that came out that we didn't cover on the podcast, that can be found on everydaycarry.com. And then we'll probably also try to do more news content on social more regularly, so you guys don't have to wait every week for this. But
Cool.
speaking of things that we do every week we also on Instagram ask our audience to send us questions to answer on the show. So we'll jump into the Q&A segment, and we got a few here. So what do we want to start with?
Coal and
Do you have
foundries. Got a good question.
Okay. So Colin Foundry asks, what can you guys say about an EDC rut? I've come to a stage where I am already satisfied with my stuff.
Are you really? Just kidding.
No. So what I would say is congratulations. Is
Yeah,
that not the goal, to find satisfaction in your
yeah,
EDC stuff? I feel like so many of us are still trying to tweak our EDCs to like get it to a level of satisfaction that we feel satisfied with, right? But that's difficult to do. So I would just say congratulations. Maybe you don't even need to call it a rut if you're satisfied with your gear.
I will say, if you feel like you've gotten there,
Mm-hmm.
unsubscribe from everything,
Yeah,
leave all of your Facebook groups, leave all of your servers, and just be happy with what you have.
yeah,
Otherwise, something's gonna come along and it's gonna, cause that tingle and
yeah.
make you start doubting what you have. But I think everybody, cer- given the breadth of EDC, everybody gets to a certain point about certain things. I feel like, as far as maybe flashlights and knives, I'm already there, and I'm just
Mm,
just like fine tuning stuff. Watches, I don't think I'm there yet. Bags, I think I need to redo stuff, like I said earlier. But generally, 90% of my stuff I'm more than super happy with. So
yeah,
unless something comes along that has a tiny bit of optimization in it, I think if it fits within my needs and I'm just not needlessly hoarding the same type of functionality, then I can
mm,
probably look into it. But otherwise, yeah, like Bernard said, celebrate this win. Take it while you can.
yeah. You can. I think that's maybe a useful option for people if they're feeling in a similar place where it's like, yeah, I'm looking at all this EDC stuff and it's great, but I don't feel compelled to change my EDC at all. That's great. Maybe if you want to stay in that place, then it could be wise to leave all your communities and
Yes.
groups like Mikey was saying. But if you just want to show up in those places with that level of satisfaction, and then you can just engage with other people, not from a place of like, I need to update my EDC, so I want to learn from other people what I can change for mine, but maybe you can offer that as value to other people, right? Your own sense of this, hey, this is how I got to a place where I'm satisfied. If you're interested in getting there, maybe this is my story, this is how I did it, and just engage with people in that way and just have an appreciation for other people's stuff. And you don't have to really work on your own EDC. I fall into to phases of that too, but I also think it can be kind of cyclical. So EDC's changed, and so do you. So, Mikey, it sounds like you want to jump in here real quick.
Yeah, I'm just glad you brought that up, because I think we've talked about it before when we would kind of speed run through hobbies. One of the drawbacks I've noticed, that if you speed run through the hobby and you already get the good stuff that you're super happy with, it feels like you start to get left out of the communities that kind of got you there, and suddenly
Mm,
you can't be part of the discussion anymore, because you're not buying new things, or you're just going to be sharing the same old stuff that you have, and you're not bringing anything to the table anymore that you haven't already
Mm,
said. So it that's the thing that I think kind of bothers me sometimes, where I don't feel like I can participate anymore because I'm not caught in the cycle anymore, right? I'm not buying the latest and greatest
yeah.
stuff, and it's just what I'm just gonna show the same old knife every time. It's just gonna show the same old watch and flashlight every time, and especially in light of this of doing the show, we've talked about we've been under pressure to kind of always show new stuff. That's why
Yeah.
now I'm kind of digging into like the older stuff that I have, or
Hmm.
appreciating stuff, or looking at putting together new stuff in a new light. So that's the only thing that I think kind of rocks the boat when you feel that rut, where it kind of makes you question yourself. Like, so I'm happy with my stuff. No, everybody else is still talking about stuff they're working on. Now I'm kind of feeling left out, and I don't know what to do now.
Oh,
What do you think
so
about
what I
it?
would suggest is when you start to feel left out because other people are still working on that stuff, why don't instead you internalize a sense of superiority? No, it's like, well, they can do that because I'm better than them. No, that's a joke. That's not really the point. I think there's some truth to that where you can feel like, oh, if I start to feel satisfied with my EDC, then I lose the connection of being in the same, not struggle, but same path or journey as these other people that are they're
Yeah,
also trying
yeah,
to optimize their EDC. But I've been in different communities, different hobbies, EDC included, where I've kind of gotten to a place where, yeah, I kind of know what I like. I feel good about the stuff I have, and I can share that. And people still appreciate that. If anything, they're like, yeah, this dude's OG, or like this dude has got it figured out, and they can have a sense of appreciation for that. So it's not like I've never been
oh, I get none
like
of that. So
outcast. Yeah, I've never been out. So I feel like that's maybe a potentially sort of unfounded fear, but I understand the feeling of like, oh, I don't get to participate in the same way. But that just means
mm,
you can participate in a different way, right?
mm,
So that's what I will say towards the community aspect of it. I do have maybe a more practical answer for Colon Foundry that might sort of get you out of an EDC rut. And I've thought about doing this as well, especially for things that I feel I have a collection of and I'm already satisfied with. But sort of challenge yourself to engage with your EDC in a new way. Meaning,
yes.
so, for example, if I have this giant knife collection, what would it be like if I carried one knife only for this entire month, or like 1 week at a time, instead of having this option of being able to rotate? And I realize that not everybody has this privilege, right? To be able to have multiple things that they can rotate in and out. And some people have only the one. But if you've gotten to a place where, you're trying your own thing, or sorry, you've gotten to a place where you're not trying new things because you're only using the stuff you're already satisfied with, then maybe there's a way to use them or look at them in a different way that can kind of make it feel not so much of a rut. And I think the feeling behind the word rut is this sense of stagnation, right?
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
like satisfaction is a good thing, but if you feel like it's a rut, maybe you feel like you should be experiencing something different, that just whatever it is that is just not what you currently have. And in a way, I'm starting to get confused by the question because rut and satisfaction don't really go together, right? Um, so yeah, so maybe that's something you could do. You could do like little challenges with your stuff, to maybe curb the feeling of wanting to get something more, or just to really sit with what you say you're satisfied with. What do you think about that, Mikey?
I think there's an interesting duality to it. You know
Mm-hmm.
how a big part of EDC is like the purchasing of it, and the new buy now. But
Mm-hmm.
also there's this entire side of it where really nice, well worn, well used patina is very highly regarded, very highly respected, especially for watches and knives that are really used and
Mm-hmm.
have all of that character. I just find that kind of dynamic really interesting, where it's kind of like the tug and the big struggle, isn't it? Where you're trying to always be part of it and see all the new shiny things out there, but then also there's also a big factor of it of just using your stuff, enjoying it as much as you absolutely can, and then appreciating all of the character that goes into it as a result of you using it. I just that duality is always kind of the tug into
Yeah,
yeah.
that friction between putting wear on your stuff, getting the most out of your tools, but then also
Being a
upgrading
collector
your
and
EDC. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I think I have one last point that I want to make here that might be useful, and then we can move on to another question. I'm already really appreciating this question for all the
Mm.
ideas it brings to the table. But I think if you're in an EDC rut and you feel satisfied with your stuff, but then there's this feeling of stagnation there, think about what your EDC is and how you got it in the first place, right? It's because it serves certain functions and satisfies certain needs in your day-to-day life, right? So if you're already satisfied with your stuff, maybe there's room to change aspects of your life, right? So if you're using your EDC for the same things, maybe you can try doing new things where your EDC can come into play. So that might be
Ooh.
go on more adventures, travel more, pick up a different hobby, like travel to, or not travel, but like switch locations and sort of things in your day to day and switch that up, or change and grow as a person. You're always changing, and your EDC changes with you, right? So if you're feeling that like, damn, I'm in a rut, but my EDC is good and nothing really needs to change, maybe that's a sign that there's something within you and not the EDC that wants to change and has this like urge to expand and change and get out of some kind of rut. So maybe it isn't all about the EDC. Maybe it's about the EDCer. I don't know enough
Don't
about Colin Foundry to make any assumptions there, but I've had periods personally where I'm just like, damn, maybe I should buy a new thing. But really, it's like I should take care of my own stuff first, and then that will come into play later. And that's been the case for a lot of stuff. So
so don't
maybe
change the
think about that.
gear, change your life.
Yeah,
Change
it could
yourself
be.
instead.
Yeah, it could
Yeah.
be because like we always say, like EDCs are living and evolving and changing, and it's because they're attached to us, and we're also living and changing and evolving.
Oh,
So
I
maybe
like that.
if
Yeah.
you're feeling this sort of stagnation or rut, it's not really the gear that you want to change, but maybe the context in which you use them, parts
The
about,
routine.
yeah, the
Yeah.
routine, parts about you, your outlook towards them, right? So there are different things you can change. It doesn't have to be the gear necessarily all the time, but maybe, yeah, the context, the circumstance, or you yourself.
I like
And you
that.
can show up in a different way and have a
I
different
like that.
relationship to your gear. So hopefully that gets you out of the EDC rut. And if it doesn't, that's okay too, man. We all end up there sometimes. So really appreciate the question. I'm really curious what people think about those potential responses to an EDC rut. So one is just internalize that satisfaction and then leave all your communities, or two, just try to restrict and challenge and use your gear in different ways, but then also stay in your communities and just engage from that lens and not from the I'm also buying new stuff. Or third, grow grow as a person or change your life in some way so that your EDC can grow with you and change with you, right? So I think
Min
those
max
might be some, yeah,
yourself.
yeah, those might be some interesting options. So really cool. Thank you for that question, Colin Foundry.
Thank you.
What do you want to move on to next, Mikey?
There was a guide about EDC.
So Francisco's Finds asks, if you wrote a guide to EDC, what definitely needs to be in there? Interesting question. If you wrote a guide, what would I put in there? So I actually have written a guide. It's on everydaycarry.com. And the thing about this guide though is like,
This
if,
actually kind of ties into our next question because this guide, in one way or another, has been around since the start.
yeah, I wrote this 2015, and
Wow.
it's been like, I don't want to. I'm not going to make a claim, but it has inspired a lot of similar content by other publications and brands that covers this kind of outline. So basically, what goes into the guide, I would explain what does EDC stand for, why should you have one, and like the benefits of actually investing in one, right? So that's what I've done here, and then what makes up an EDC. So I kind of went from the initial phone wallet keys that sort of like everyone knows and kind of already taps their pockets as they leave the door. So these are people who are not EDCers, right? You kind of start where they're at, and that might be their phone wallet and keys. And then I talk about other things like adding a knife, flashlight, multi-tool, that kind of trifecta. And then this last layer of maybe less common and not as essential pieces of gear like a pen, notebook, and watch. that sort of thing. And then it goes on and on. There's a bunch of other frequently asked questions in here, but I would say this is a pretty good primer. Do you think there's anything that's missing here, Mikey, that we can update for 2025 when we come around to doing that?
I think the main thing I would update, on if we were to start this from scratch, because
Mm-hmm.
we get asked questions about how do I get started on X, Y, and Z, which thing do I start with? I think the opening framing questions, it would be good. Like, number one, what tasks do you need to do in your day to day that are important to you, that are
Mm,
outside of the standard phone wallet keys? What kind of activities do you find yourself the most that you need help tools to accomplish? As another thing, I think budget should always be a consideration, because that's always the second question I ask. How much are you willing to
yeah.
pay for whatever thing you need, the whatever tool you're gonna need? Somebody's gonna say, I need a multi-tool. I need like a Leatherman. Okay. What functions do you need out of the Leatherman? Or how big do you want it to be? Or what budget do you want to spend? Do you want it to be on your keychain? Do you want to wear it on a belt sheath and stuff like that? So I think just
Mm,
the opening framing questions from the perspective of someone who's heard about EDC but doesn't really know where to start, and then maybe the framing questions will allow them to, okay, I'm a car mechanic by trade. Maybe I need a set of socket wrenches or something, or
yeah.
a set of tools that are not just a Leatherman, just because I need those more specific tools. Maybe I'm a cyclist. I need my bike tool. Do you have a like a cool fancy one that's kind of more compact than the usual bike stuff? Just tailoring it more to your actual everyday carry needs. And
Right.
then,
So
yeah,
yeah,
and
so
then
you're kind
siloing
of
it for budgets. Yeah.
mentioning more of the framework to actually build your EDC rather than just the concept of what
Mm,
an average EDC might be or the philosophy behind it. So that would probably
yes.
that would probably be like a good last sort of part of the guide where it's you kind of understand what it's for, why it might benefit you, what goes into it, but then here's how to actually start your own
Ah, yes. Agree.
and
Yeah, I
the
like it.
frameworks that right that helps
Mm,
you understand like how do EDCers think when it comes to adding their gear and making their own
yeah,
EDC.
that's a
So
good. Yeah, that's a
that's
good
basically
starting
what you're
question.
describing, right? I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
basically what you're describing. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Definitely needs to be in there. So yeah, so if you guys want to check out that guide, hopefully if you just Google what is EDC or number one, I don't know if AI
I
has taken over and then just like
No,
pulled part of my
unfortunately.
answer and then misinterprets it and then spits out something that's completely
I.
wrong about raves in Las Vegas. So yeah,
Oh man, remember that time when everybody was still confusing EDC for Electric Daisy Carnival.
yeah.
But
I've
speaking
never
of
been, by the way.
remembering, neither have I. Speaking of remembering that time,
Uh-huh.
we have a question from Noir Hound. What's your everydaycarry.com origin story? How did you discover Bernard?
I don't know.
Everydaycarry.com.
I
How
was just
did you
Googling
discover?
what is EDC when I saw all these girls talking about it on Instagram. No, I'm just kidding. So Noir underscore hound asks, what's your everydaycarry.com origin story? How did you discover everydaycarry.com? And how and when did you start working in the company? So I don't know if this is actually directed towards Mikey or not, because I mentioned at the top of the show every time that I'm the founder of everydaycarry.com.
Yeah, quick background.
Uh-huh. I actually started everydaycarry.com. No, sorry. Let me go back a little bit. Even before that, I started Everyday Carry as a Tumblr blog, my own personal Tumblr blog in 2009. So I don't know if I think most of the audience is old enough to remember Tumblr, if not older than me, to be honest. So Tumblr was a social media platform, kind of like micro blogging, but not as short as Twitter, but not as
Mhm.
involved as like an actual journal or like a WordPress kind of
Was really
publication.
cool
So
for its time. Yeah.
really cool. And it was one of the first places that kind of had virality through reposting. So they had reblogging, and that really helped. And then it was also one of the first that had kind of an inbox system that allowed to be published. And all of those features of that social media platform at the time helped develop Everyday Carry into what it was. So the very early versions of it was just me. I'm a teenager. I'm like just barely in college. And I remember during my lunch breaks, I would just work on this blog. I don't even know why I would say work on this blog, but really what I was doing was curating cool photos and pocket dumps and gear that I was finding from different discussion forums. So I was a member of USN. I was a member of EDC forums, Candle Power forums, Blade forums,
All of the
multitool.org.
OGs.
Yeah,
Wow,
so all
multitool.org. Wow,
yeah,
that
all of
takes
these
me back.
are disparate, and Headfi, like all of these are old web stuff basically. Like BBS forums, discussion forums. Not many people use them now. I think Reddit and Quora and like are probably the closest to that now,
Yeah, yeah,
where people ask questions and have discussions. But a lot of it has moved to Discord and Facebook groups, that kind of thing. So
yeah, yeah.
it was a different time back then. But back then, I would have to dig through all of these different discussions about different products and whatever. And then what I thought was cool, I would put that on my blog. But since I'm on a blog where people can find you, so Tumblr, people could sort of find that there's a discoverability aspect. I had to make it digestible to people who don't know this like arcane EDC stuff. So I kind of wrote my own opinions and stuff. I was basically just blogging. And that's kind of how Everyday Carry as a blog started. And then there was a time where I would post my own EDC photos and it would be like that flat lay pocket dump kind of visual style. And that was just so visually interesting that people who are not even interested in EDC as a subject would just think like, oh, look at all this cool stuff. It's aesthetic. On Tumblr, aesthetic was like so important. So they would just reblog
Yeah.
it. There was this whole other blog called Things Organized Neatly, and they would reblog a lot of my stuff because of the satisfaction, the
knolling
visual
aspect.
satisfaction of knolling, of just everything at right angles, perfectly arranged, perfectly spaced in
The
common
top of
everyday
that
stuff.
article, the top of that article was one of your older
Yeah,
carries, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah. I know, but it's like not taken from. Well, even the thumbnail of this video is kind of that. I mean,
Yeah.
people
True.
know what I'm talking about now. It's so
Yeah.
popularized that visual format. So anyway, that was back in like 2009, and eventually I also had people find me and then ask, "Oh, you apparently know about cool flashlights or something. What's a flashlight I should get?" Or, "Hey, here's a photo of my EDC. Do you think it's cool?" And that kind of just built that sort of content engine of people asking me questions or sending me photos of their EDC, and then I would give a review or feedback or critique of it and then publish it with suggestions of new products. So there was a bunch of stuff going on. There's like product discovery, there was that community aspect, there was the user generated content aspect. And back then, I was a teenager just chronically online. I had no idea that I was doing things like SEO and just community building and all this other stuff. And that eventually led to 2013, start a .com and get it off of Tumblr, or work to get it off of Tumblr as its own website, just so I'm not reliant on that platform. And I had a couple of co-founders, and they were from a tech kind of background. So we had our whole like visual overlay shoppable Instagram before shoppable Instagram type thing. So we had our whole like tech play arc. But now in 2024, we're part of the Ridge banner, right? So we're multimedia kind of EDC content publication now under Ridge. And then Mikey got swept up into all of this somehow. Started as a Tumblr follower. You want to tell your story real quick?
Yeah, so around 2011 was, or 2010, 2011 was when I started discovering the blog. At that point, I was already working in IT for quite a bit. I was about 5 years into my different career at the time. And then I started into the EDC stuff as a hobby. I knew nothing, totally nothing about it. I was one of those guys who was asking Bernard about, hey, what do you think about this? What's this cool stuff? And finding out about cool brands like 47's flashlights and Phoenix flashlights and all of, and Spyderco and all of those way back in the day stuff. And then I did have some background in writing. So when Bernard said that he was gonna do the .com, I'm like, hey, do you need a writer? I'm ready to quit my job. And then that was in 2014. I started out as a writer, and then wow, 10 years later, here we are, doing a podcast about talking about what happened
It's
10 years ago.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
So that like the .com was 10 years ago. The blog itself, even longer than that. It's going to be 15 years in December of me starting EDC.
Yeah,
So it's a long
jeez. Yeah.
time. We do have another podcast, I think, where we talk about how our EDCs changed over that past 15
Yeah,
years. So
it's a
if
good
you're more
episode.
interested in like the the gear itself and the journey of the EDCs and not so much our association with this company and like the brand that we've started here, then you can also check that out. But I don't want to talk about ourselves too much on our
Yeah, I
own
know, right?
podcast for some reason. I don't know why I feel weird about that, but I do want to. Maybe I'm just shy. Maybe we're kind of just introverted people who have a podcast for some reason. But let's turn the attention to other people and not us and jump into our user submission. So thank you guys for submitting the questions. We're going to jump into our user submitted EDCs next. Yeah, this is from at the underscore master caliber on X.
I
So
hope so.
they're a work from home workforce analyst in the Philippines. And they said it's an inexpensive and indispensable daily carry tools, whether it's outdoors or indoors. I always carry these three tools when I'm outside and on my desk when I work. Quick grab flashlight for unexpected power interruptions, Mikey knows all about those, or walking on a dimly lit pathway, a pen for taking notes down, or signing documents for receiving parcels, and a classic tool for everyone that we may have inherited from our fathers, and now we can also teach our children, the Swiss Army knife. It has a multitude of
Hmm.
usages and applications for whatever task is in front of you, and it won't fail as long as you take care of it. And it'll be your friend for many more years to come, a proven and tested tool for many generations. So we got the Olight i3T in polished stainless steel, and then just the generic bolt action titanium pen, and then the Victorinox Pioneer in ALOX. So,
I swear to God, I thought this was my friend's carry because I have a friend who's an avid
mhm.
watcher of our show, High Rod, and
uh,
he really likes the all silver stuff. So I really thought it was his submission, but
uh,
I really like the polished stainless steel for EDC is kind of underrated. I think
mhm.
just from its weight, it t- uh, kind of
I mean,
draws
I
people
have
away.
polished stainless steel in my carry,
I know.
but
Oh,
it's
you got it
specifically
already.
for the weight. No, I've had
You
this.
got it already. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had this. But
Yeah.
that's kind of the downside of it, is that it just is so heavy. So I think that's why
Yeah.
people gravitate towards like polished titanium. It looks very
Exactly.
similar, but it's
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
so much more expensive. But you do
Yeah.
save on weight. So it's kind of a
That's right.
trade off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like, yeah, it's a nice classic combo. Like you said, the stainless steel goes perfectly with polished titanium. It
Hmm.
almost looks indistinguishable between those two. And of course, Pioneer Alox. What can we say? What we haven't said in the past 15
Yeah.
years, like you said, it's a classic for a reason. Perfectly covers all of your bases. And yeah, you got your slice right light. Is that, I keep forgetting what the combo was.
That's
Right,
right. Yeah.
slice right light. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
sliced with your Swiss Army. You're right with the
yeah.
bolt action pen. Then you're light with the Olight. Yeah.
Perfect. Nice curation, good selection, interesting variations on the theme as well, like stainless
Hmm.
steel. So yeah, I love it.
I just had a random intrusive thought question for you, Mikey, that
Do
maybe
it.
won't go anywhere. But you mentioned the sort of trinity that we would judge other EDCs by, of slice,
Mm,
right, light, right? And I say judge meaning like that's how people back in the day on forums would be like, oh yeah, I see that you got this set up, your bases are covered. And that's
mm,
usually the goal, right? To have your bases covered. But in
that's right.
2024, do you think that the bases that we're covering should be assessed or reassessed rather? Do you think it needs to be slice right light? Or do you
Now,
think that because of technology, there's a different set of bases that we cover and we have to come up with this new rhyme?
I think
Thoughts?
no. I think it's just going to still be a variation on the same theme of slice right
Mm-hmm.
light because there is a justification for that, right? Remember, there was that common sentiment where these are the things that humans as organisms can't do naturally. The
Yes.
last bit of it is fire, right? That's why people carry lighters on them.
Yeah.
So
I
we
think
don't have,
maybe
yeah,
light can also fall under that, or that can
yeah,
fall under light.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So it's either or, but we don't have any natural means of cutting like it could be our teeth, but our nails are not built for
Yeah.
cutting. We can't we can't write with any implements without a pen, and we can't produce light or flame. So I think
That's where it
that
comes from.
very,
Yeah.
yeah, that's that very grounded level of that's the source of the trinity basically.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I think technology can probably morph the functionalities or improve on them, but you're still answering that basic fact that we are squishy meat bags
Yeah.
that we can't do really much on our own.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
quite limited in our
yeah.
functionality. I thought during this whole discussion, sorry, I've been holding back from laughing because I thought of the modern Trinity.
Okay.
And just judging by people just constantly being on their phone, just vaping all the time, and
Oh
just
no.
conspicuous consumption and overconsumption. So it would be type, pipe, and hype. I
Oh
think
my
that's
god.
that's what it'd be. So
Okay, we got to
yeah.
give examples so we can make a
Okay, so
video
your
out of
smart,
it.
yeah, your smartphone, and then your vape of choice. You're just like hitting that, and then
Okay.
some hype items so that you can post on social media. I don't know. So maybe it's like a what would that even be now? Like a Stanley mug with a
Ah,
jewel and
a
an iPhone
Starbucks
15
a
Pro 16
Starbucks
Pro
big
Max
mug.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And that would that would be like, oh, you've made it. Your bases are covered to function in 2024.
Yeah, because
Hopefully not. Yeah.
your phone would have your payment and your flashlight and your
Now you're
watch.
thinking too literally. I'm just talking about for you to be accepted in
Oh,
modern
okay, okay. Like
society
starter pack, starter.
in a dystopian sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was a joke that started from an intrusive thought, so maybe we can move on. I have to apologize to Master Caliber for derailing your submission so much, but thank you
It's
for
cool.
submitting.
Trust us, it's
It is
cool.
cool. You do have the classic Trinity in quality
It's so
materials.
good that it made us look bad by having an
Yeah,
intrusive.
yeah, exactly. So thank you for submitting that. We can
Perfect.
move on to the next one before I run this bit into the ground. Next, oh, this one's cool. This one is an
I thought you liked
full
this.
Ultim carry. This one is from Oliver on Instagram, Sly Meester. And they said they're from the Philippines, but now they're here in the American Samoa. And says, I'm a cook before until now, love EDC gear since before I knew about EDC, the everyday carry term.
Mm.
So the take here is a handful / light and usable everyday carry. Because of the material Ultim, it's very light and not that expensive. What do we think? So here we have a Star Wars Citizen watch, a Vosteed Cross County Com in the Ultim Nightshade here.
Mhm.
So where's okay, I was like, where's the Cross County Com from? I think it's referring to the
Oh, it might be the
pill
pill. Yeah, that's right.
capsule. It says Quad Pass Capsule XL.
Yeah, I think the Vosteed Nightshade and the County Compill capsule got confused.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it's a collab. Nightshade.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. There is, speaking of CountyCom, there's a Meritac pen, the Pen Go in Ultim, and then
Classic.
more Meritac gear. So there's the Abrams Unibody Ultim whistle, and then a Flame Vault match in Ultim, and then just the basic Meritac
Classic.
AAA. Yeah, AAA on a Night Eyes Espiner there.
So the first thing that jumped out to me here is that the watch is really really interesting. I really it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the Casino Royale Casio, the
Yeah,
one
but
with
this
all of the
is
dials on it. But yeah, this is the
I
Citizen
what is this called? Millennium Falcon.
Millennium. Yes,
This is the shape of a Millennium Falcon,
that's right.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then the dial on the right is the cockpit view from the outside of the Millennium
Very
Falcon.
cool. Thank
Yeah.
you, movie nerd expert. I think somebody on Instagram or TikTok or something called me out as being just like a nerd poser. I was like, I'm being called out for not being nerdy enough. That's never happened in my life. So I appreciated that. That was new.
That was fresh. That was fresh.
Yeah. So
And
yeah, the Citizen's really cool.
the other thing that stood out to me is this carry is deceptively large because it actually is a bunch of small stuff. If you think about
Oh
it,
yeah. I know what you're
this
saying.
is the
Yeah.
size of a hand, but you have everything fitting within the space of a palm and
Mhm.
just part of the fingers. So I think it's underrated how small this carry actually is.
They could just have a gigantic hand.
True, that is true. We could be looking at a 9-inch wrist and a 12-inch
Yeah, right.
wingspan.
This is actually a 60 millimeter watch
I
this diameter
know.
here. No.
Have you
And it's
changed
an
your mind about
18650.
Have you changed your
About
mind
Ultim?
about Ultim? Yeah? Are you still kind of 50-50 about the color?
Mm,
Disregarding the functionality. How are you for the aesthetic of of yellow.
It is growing on me, but I think if it were more neon than amber, I think it would appeal to my
Mm.
sensibilities a little bit more.
Come from that
So
Nike Vault
yeah,
heritage.
like the more like
Yeah.
futuristic kind of angle to it. Right now, it just seems kind of like dirty. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people love
It's
Ultim for the color
tropical
and the material
patina.
properties. Yeah, exactly. So, but this is pretty cool. What do you think about carrying pills? Because we've had questions come through. Sorry, I somebody sent it to me, I think via email, and I didn't put it in the actual Q&A section, but somebody was asking for help for carrying pills and medication. Like this
Mm.
pill capsule doesn't really have much organization, but it does offer just portability and protection and storage of pills. But what about people that have multiple pills that they need to carry every day? Do you have any tips for that, Mikey?
My wife has just a generic thing she got from the drugstore. It's just the one with the dates on it, Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah, yeah.
Wednesday.
But is
Yeah,
there a cool expensive EDC if you know
I
version
have
of
been
that? No, I'm just
I
kidding.
have been looking. I think I remember seeing like a stackable set of the stainless containers for the
Mm,
pills. So each of them is like a compartment that you can unscrew, and then it's its own section of a pill carrier. I think I've
mm.
seen it on Amazon. I haven't. I might try and look for it, but yeah, I think stainless containers. I'm actually using just like a generic Advil container to carry
Yeah.
my Advil around. That's the extent of my pill carrying. But yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten by using, so you know how sometimes when you get hearing protection, they come in little pouches, just like those
Mm,
flexi pouches.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
put some in there because I'm usually wearing the ear protection or just have that in some other case. But I've repurposed those. But I think a real tip that I've gotten is from my friend. She told me that if you wear contacts and you get the regular saline, usually they come with a contacts case.
Oh, the double screw case.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like a very pocketable or carry portable plastic kind of solution where you can
Mm.
have two compartments and they're labeled left and right. And then you can kind of just at least have two different pills that are sequestered in their own compartments and it's easy to carry. And it's usually free or cheap to get a
Yeah.
contacts case.
Yep. True.
So
True.
that is a non-conventional conventional EDC pro tip from a
Yeah.
non-EDCer friend. So thank you to Donna for that one, dropping the knowledge. So yeah, pretty
Otherwise,
cool.
also another thing is respect to having all of this Maritech stuff because they're not available in the Philippines. Well, he could
Oh
probably
yeah,
have gotten it. He could
in
probably
the
have
American
gotten it back in
Samoa.
this, yeah, in American Samoa already. But
Mm.
here in the Philippines, we don't have access to Countycom or Maritech normally. So
Mm.
yeah, the fact that he has a full load out of it's pretty cool. Just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, I like this stuff. I like the watch. I like the Vosteed, and I think pocket pens are cool. I want to play more with pocket pens and also
Mm,
AAA flashlights. I think we dig
yeah.
those. So let's jump into our last one. Thank you so much for the submission, and then we'll move over to this last one.
Mm.
Very stylish. This,
This is a New Yorker's carry, I think. It's very
yeah. So this is.
speaks very New York to me.
Oh no, no, no. I mean, it's in a big city. So this is from Matthias, an industrial designer based in London.
Ah, there you
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
That's what's
So they
setting me
said,
off.
currently I'm trying to reduce my EDC, exploring new tools and pushing my boundaries to make my ideas flow. I love that. I strive
Mm.
to find perfect timeless EDC that fits easily in my pockets by combining independent makers and mainstream brands. So we've got a Banton Frameworks sunglasses, Leatherman Micra, Pitt Ein Eek Keyring, a Hoto pocket pen, public supply notebook, and the Victorinox Bantam A-Locks. So yeah.
Nice. Nice glasses, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, my yep, cool micro representation. And those keys are pretty interesting too.
Hmm.
I haven't seen square keys. I don't see square
Maybe
keys
it's
very often.
like a London thing,
Yeah, maybe.
British thing. Yeah. Sketch ideas. This is cool. And then okay, I want to make sure what this is. Like that is really interesting to me.
I don't think
Is
the
it a
knife is identified,
no, I
actually.
don't think it's a knife. I think it's a pet. I think
Oh,
right?
wow. I got mixed up by
Or
that.
wait, no, 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 no. Is it? I don't think so. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. It's the
so
Aharo
Ahodo,
pocket
yeah,
pen.
makes Ahodo makes cool like designery pens, but the pocket pen is kind of it looks like a knife. It's a folding design for a pen, which is like
Right.
uncommon. I think it can be like rear flipper tab deployed also.
And
So
it's
that's
got a
very
wire
interesting.
pocket clip.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's very cool.
and scales similar to as if it were like an actual pocket knife. So that's really cool, and it's this is definitely one of those instances where right slice light makes sense if you're an industrial designer and you like need to sketch on the go. You need to have your right, like that is just
Yeah.
that is your bases covered. So I really appreciate that. I love seeing that in action here when people have, uh, just function or purpose driven EDC, right?
Mm. And I also like the mix up for the ALOX, which is the Bantam rather than the Pioneer X or the Cadet.
Mm,
The Bantam's just a two layer one with the big knife and the driver with a bottle opener.
yeah,
So it's one of the more basic
very
ones, and it's
essential.
2 layer, very lightweight, and
Mm,
fits this very lightweight, kind of really stylish carry, I think, perfectly.
yeah. So not only that, it has limited functionality. However, it is complemented by the Leatherman Micra, right?
Mm.
So you get that's where you get your scissors and the rest of your drivers and things like that. But also remember, this person is in the UK, so knife laws are really strict. So that
Oh, yeah,
is
that's a good
another
point. Yeah,
reason
totally
why
forgot.
just the very simple Bantam makes sense. So non-locking, shorter blade, very
Mm.
lightweight, and not open carry because there's no
Great
pocket clip,
point.
right? So
Totally
this
forgot about
very
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, very well considered. That's why I love having the context of where you are and what you do because that just gives more, it just adds more to the EDC. This on its own, just by the design of the items and just the also the photos very well shot, is already satisfying to look at. But then when you understand, it's like, oh yeah, this is person who's into design. They want their EDC to keep their creativity flowing whenever it strikes. That's really cool. And you're prepared for that when you have your pocket pen, your notebook, and then you have the rest of your bases covered, like we mentioned, with just a simple 2 item setup. So,
Yeah,
really cool.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, really appreciate that one. No notes for me. I
No,
think
no,
it's
it's
really well done. Yeah. So, thank you, Matthias, the industrial designer based in London. And if you guys want your EDCs featured on the website, you can always go to everydaycarry.com and then up in the top navigation bar, there's a submit your EDC, or you can look in the description of the show notes here, and there will be a link to share that as well. So, uh, I think that just about wraps it up for today's episode. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Hit the subscribe, share with a friend, and follow us on socials. That will be linked below. So if you want to be part of our EDC community, feel free to hop into our Facebook group or Discord server for more real-time discussion with other EDCers. And lastly, if you have any feedback for us or questions you want answered on the show, you can shoot us an email at podcast@everydaycarry.com. Thank you so much for listening to Carry the Way. I'm Bernard.
and I'm Mikey, and let us know if you've reached EDC Zen Nirvana,
Satisfaction. Yeah.
full satisfaction, and tell us about it. And yeah, we'd love
Yeah.
to hear about it.
Until the next one. Peace.